Welcome back to the Bitcoin Sports Network podcast, where we blend excitement with competition to create unforgettable experiences. Our mission is to empower Bitcoin one competition at a time and help orange pill the world.
So next up, we do have the co-founders of Bitcoin Sports Network, the co-organizers of the Max and Stacy Golf Invitational. Put your hands together for our hosts, Chris and Frieda.
Woo! Woo! Chris and Frieda Bobet are the husband and wife duo behind Bitcoin Sports Network, BSN, producers of the Max and Stacy Invitational, a premier Bitcoin golf experience, merging Bitcoin culture with competitive golf and community. They've created an international stage where athletes, entrepreneurs, and Bitcoiners connect on and off the course. Chris and Frieda.
Thank you, Max. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up. You got a chair? You need another chair?
I'll find myself a chair. You got a chair?
There we go.
There?
Let me move my watches here. Put this over here.
Get up here.
Oh,
Long time coming. Finally up on stage with Max Kaiser.
oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, we had to work our ass. Just had to work our ass off for 2 years.
That's right. So,
This could be you next year.
as I was telling the story earlier, how this all got started. You know, we talked to Chris, Trey, and those guys in Nashville, and they said, hey, you know, I live in a golf course. Let's do a golf tournament. And they said, well, you got to talk to Chris and Frieda. They are the masters at all of this. Is that your understanding? When did you first hear from them about what was going on here, that moment that happened? Can you describe it or tell us?
The moment that they told us that...
The Genesis story. The Genesis story when you first heard about what was coming.
It all happened when I was 5 years old, I think. And I just knew one day... Trey and Rocky from Unchained, and we'd be able to create amazing things together.
Really?
But no, it happened at the Nashville Bitcoin Conference there. I wanted to give back to the Bitcoin community and do a golf tournament. I've been passionate about golf my whole life, and I've been to a lot of terrible tournaments, and I knew it could be done a lot better, and we highly believe in proof of work, and so we wanted to create something excellent.
So Freda, this year, unlike last year, we have some new events, couple of new events, pickleball and poker. You know, we talked about it, and we thought that we could make the expansion into these other areas. How has that been going?
Amazing. I think poker was a hit last night. It absolutely sold out. Pickleball, I've talked to all the pickleballers. They're very sore this morning. So it was great side events. Everybody loved it. And I think we also added the kids club. I always love the kids club because, you know, we have kids. So they're entertained for like 6 hours with actual things. And yeah, it's been going really well. Yesterday's prize pool for poker, first place, $11,700 was paid out from 71 participants. So.
Yep, 71 participants, $7,100 with a $100 buy-in, and then $4,800 in rebuys, which means that there's a lot of loose poker players in the Bitcoin community.
Yeah.
And they like to donate to the pot. So
and who was the sponsor again?
Sponsor was Casino Colonial. They're one of the premier casinos here in El Salvador, and they have lots of locations around Central America.
I think they were thrilled with the whole thing and the response and everything that came with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, they really saw a group of passionate people who love poker, and based on that, they're actually looking to do a lot more poker down here in El Salvador. So,
oh, great.
And pay out in Bitcoin, which is really cool.
Yeah, and shout out to Nodeman for the pickleball. Because the Nodeman team, not only did they sponsor, but they absolutely represented on the court, and they were all good and sweaty afterwards.
Fantastic. So talk to you guys all the time, of course, and we're leading up to the events. And I know you're passionate about combining both golf, Bitcoin, and wellness, because of course, golf would fall under the category of sports. You know, Bitcoin is finance, and then there's a spiritual component. You know, we just had our friend up here previously. He's into his spiritual chi and chakra management with his thing. So, is that accurate to say that? I mean, you're trying to combine these things into one experience. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, you know, over the last several years, this idea that Bitcoin is hope has really been a statement that's been routinely stated year after year after year. And when you first get into Bitcoin, you just look at it as a vehicle to create financial independence. But as you start to go down the rabbit hole and discover more things about the technology and all the revolutionary things that it can really do to give us back our time, which is one of our most precious assets, if not the most precious asset that we have in this world, you start getting more hope. You start being more positive. You start hanging around people who are like-minded like you, who want to create something better for the future. And so when you do that, you start to think, well, shoot, how do I live longer? How do I live happier? You know, we're living in a society that's full of depression, full of drugs, full of, processed foods and obesity epidemics, and, children with ADHD being diagnosed, not necessarily having, but just looking to get out of their own way. And as digital technologies continue to get in our way and attract our attention, we spend less time in the real world focusing on what's really important, which is all of us here and all of us around us and our families, and focusing more into a digital world that everybody has an algorithm out there that knows the individual better than we know ourselves. And it really pushes this negative narrative about how desperate life is and how we need somebody else to help us. And, we're kind of here to say that's not true. We can help ourselves. So we create a platform to do that.
Yeah, now I noticed, Chris and Frieda, that you guys are coming back to El Salvador quite often. There must be something here you like. What is your impression of El Salvador? And does it fit into your overall vision of health and wellness? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think, we visited this country for the first time right after Bitcoin got introduced here in El Salvador. And honestly, I looked at Chris and I was like, they adopted Bitcoin. They're the first one. We're going. And he was like, oh, I don't know. It might be dangerous. And then 3 months later, we came. And I sat on Bitcoin Beach, and I felt the energy there. And I was absolutely just like, this is home. So I wanted to buy a house then. I wanted to move here then. I wanted to relocate my family then. But, we're still being held back by the U.S. a little bit. But it's been a really magnificent journey. I think, like, what it is all about, I'm a mom, and I want to show my kids by action and by example what is life, how do we ideally live it, and how do we not complain living it? Because I felt like in the mainstream, even though people that are well off, that have a good life from the outside, there's a lot of complainers out there. And so how do we do that? We show them action of the day-to-day. And so now they get to see mom and dad work in a company that, can show them the people that they should meet, that know about health because they tried on themselves. They didn't just hear it somewhere. No, they experiment on themselves, with the proper diet, with the proper lifestyle, and they just do things because you can just do things in El Salvador, and it's magic. So I absolutely love this country, and thanks for inviting us.
What a great response, and so well said and heartfelt. I asked Chris the same question yesterday, and he said, well, it's cool. So
I have golf here. That's what I like.
All righty. So, yeah, Chris, tell us. Let's talk about golf, okay? Because when I met you guys and we started talking about this, I really don't know anything about golf, really. And so you are in the golf culture. You're part of the subculture in the Bitcoin community of hardcore golfers. It's the cornerstone of this event. And tell us about this community of golfers in Bitcoin. What are they like? Who are they? What are they like? Tell us a little bit about this group.
It's, as far as I can tell, the most transparent way to see how game theory actually plays out. Golf is a big proof of work sport. In order to get good at it, you have to practice, you have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort. A famous statement in golf is played between the 4 inches between your ears, basically, which means it's 90% mental and 10% physical. And in a lot of ways, I see that parallel in Bitcoin. because with the volatility of the asset and all of our families telling us that it's going to zero and we're crazy for investing in it, or when they say, where are you going on vacation? And we say El Salvador, and they say, what are you, crazy? That's a super unsafe place. And, you know, we live in a culture where everybody reads headlines and nobody goes deeper than that. And if you play that way in golf, you're going to play poorly. And so you better not expect very much of yourself. But in Bitcoin, we all expect more of ourselves. And so there's a really big passion between sports that allow you to really play against yourself, just like when the Bitcoin price goes down and you have to buy the dip, and you have to play against your own expectations of where the asset you feel is going and where the asset actually is. And the more you can focus on the people that are driving the adoption, driving the motivation, having those positive conversations, you become better as a person. And in golf, the better your attitude is, the better golfer you become as well. So there's just a lot of parallels.
Okay, so I get the fact that you can become, have a better kind of appreciation for Bitcoin as a golfer. But if my appreciation of Bitcoin, does it go the other way? Does it make me a better golfer?
Well, I think it does. I mean, when I met you a year ago, you had just started taking lessons and were out on the driving range, and I saw your swing, and I was like, okay, he's athletic, but he sucks. And then I was back here for Bitcoin Historico, and we were driving around in the golf cart, and we were going to go see Jack Cruz and try to convince him to take up some stage time at the Max and Stacy, and they weren't home, and they said they would be home. And the gate was locked, and so we just sat outside in the driveway for 20 minutes, and Max was telling me about how his golf game was improving, and he had his golf bag on the back of the golf cart, and he's like, you know, I want to show you my swing. So he takes his driver out, and he doesn't hit any other clubs, he just hits the driver.
That's all.
Because it's, you know, it's go big or go home, and we all know that's Max, you know, to a T. And I was like, why don't we hit a shot here? And he goes, what do you mean hit a shot here? And I was like, well, there's some cracks in the concrete. Let's just throw down a tee and hit one into the parking lot. And he looks at me for about half a heartbeat, and he goes, okay, I'm game. And then and we were going to make this work after that point, no matter what, because we tried a couple of cracks and we couldn't get that tee to stick in the ground until ultimately we did. And he pulled out he had a ball, set up the ball, and he smashed one into the parking lot, dead straight from Jack Cruz's parking lot or driveway.
Bitcoin improves your golf game, and golf game improves your Bitcoin. It's all beautiful. Any questions for Chris and Frieda out there? Anybody want to ask a question? I know we're thinking lunchtime coming up here in a moment, but I think you've smashed it. You're 20 under par with this interview, and thanks again for everything. Putting all this together, and it's just, from our perspective, we have always been looking around to do an event like this, and as you point out, typically these types of events lack a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain fun factor, but I think you guys have really figured it all out. So thank you once again. Chris and Frieda, a big round of applause.
Thank you. And also,
thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for trusting us, Max and
Yes, of
Stacy.
course.
Yeah. So if you're in another country, you want us to do the same thing there, give us a call. We'll help you out. Create the greatest golf tournament your country or country club has ever seen.
That's right. The Max and Stacy can be franchised to any country, any golf course in the world. Contact Chris and Frieda, and we'll show up. I'll be there. I'll be on the stage. Doesn't matter. Thailand, Bulgaria, Moscow, France, Antarctica, where Jack Cruz likes to go to get sun. We'll do it.
Thank you.